What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and we all know that Pokemon is headed to the Nintendo Switch. It has been officially announced that there is going to be a new mainline entry in the Pokemon series. Thank God. I mean, really, it was always going to happen. It was always the next logical step. Thankfully, it's probably happening sooner rather than later. Personally, I hope we see it this year in 2018, but it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't actually see it until 2019. Of course, we'll probably find out more about that at E3 this year, but that's beside the point. So here's the question. What do I want to see in one of gaming's biggest, one of gaming's best, and one of my own personal favourite franchises when it makes the jump from 3DS to Nintendo Switch? Well, we all know it's going to have the same staple style of Pokemon series and Pokemon progression. Chances are we'll probably have 151 new Pokemon, maybe with a couple of different variants on some old ones as well, like the Aloha variants in, say, Sun and Moon. It'll be a new region, there'll be a new professor named after some sort of tree, there'll be another bad group, there'll be gyms, there'll be Elite Four, there'll be another story going on in the meantime. But here's what I want to see. I want to see the biggest and most expansive and comprehensive Pokemon game ever. I'm talking about bringing back a feature from Pokemon Gen 2 that off the top of my head hasn't been implemented in any of the other main Pokemon games since. And it was one of the biggest features in the game. And it added such an absolutely monstrous amount of continued playtime and replay value. And that is multiple regions. If you remember back to Pokemon Gold and Silver, once you completed that game for the first time and you completed the 8 gyms in that region, you could go back to the original Kanto region and essentially play the original Pokemon Red and Blue for the most part using all the new Pokemon from Gold and Silver. It essentially doubled the entire game area, and for some reason hasn't been implemented in other games. So having said all that, I want to see in Pokemon Switch, or whatever they're going to call the 2 different variants of it. Shit, that just made me realize, how am I going to have to get a second Switch to transfer the 3 starter Pokemon over? God damn it. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. I want to see the most comprehensive Pokemon to date. I want to see every region from all the main Pokemon games put into this, as well as potentially a new region. And of course, with all those regions and all those Pokemon and all those different entries in the Pokédex, yes, I want every single Pokemon available in these games, in these regions, in these whatever. And I'm not talking about linking it to a Nintendo 3DS game of some sort. Forget the Pokebank, forget transferring from all the old games, forget transferring from the 3DS games. Leave these 2 big, expansive experiences just to themselves. Of course, I'm assuming that there's always 2 Pokemon games released at the same time. So I'm going to assume it's going to be like that. But have them be individual, have them be independent, away from anything previous from the DS, the 3DS, the Game Boy Color. Keep away from them. Don't allow stuff to be transferred in from Pokebank. Instead, flesh out the world. Flesh out all those regions. Give us a reason to go through every single different region, hunting every single different Pokemon, instead of just transferring 500 of them from Pokebank. Now that one kind of segues into what I wanted to get to in a different sense, which was just keep away from any type of link to a 3DS version or anything, so that kind of fits in there too. I want these to be completely independent, not hamstrung or incorporating any of the old, incredibly old school stuff, as great as they all were, and just go moving forward from that. Now here is where some more gameplay elements and all come in. How do I think it's going to play? Will it be kind of small scale, like when you look at the 3DS games? Every path is usually very small and narrow. Or will it be a big sprawling open world, like many of the other games, Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, whatever? I think they can successfully do a mixture of both. When you look at the Pokemon games in the past, many of them, yes, a lot of the paths and a lot of the routes and everything will actually just be small, narrow paths. But there are a few big, large open areas. Granted, there's not many of them, but I think they could work in that sense. You have all the routes which are just water-only surfing routes, they're essentially oceans. And you have a couple of big areas that are giant open fields. So I think it'll be more like that in the sense that we won't have a giant Zelda-esque world, but there will be a few larger open areas along some of the routes. Now here's the big one, the control scheme and the camera. Will it be a third-person style camera, or will it be more isometric like we're used to on the 3DS? Maybe even first-person as well. It wouldn't surprise me if they went with the isometric one, but I think they should give players the option for both. But at the same time, being able to run around a Pokemon world, playing Pokemon, see Pokemon just pop up in the long grass in the distance in a 3D rotatable camera world, that's going to be pretty damn good. That needs to be factored in some way, shape or form. If they only go with one camera, let it be that. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if they went with both camera options. Maybe call one classic and then call the other one, I don't know, modern or 3D or something. Now here's something I'm going to try factor in as well, and this is something you're probably never expecting to hear me ever say, because as you know, if you're a fan here, you know I absolutely despise the Joy-Con. They're Wiimote 2.0 and that's it. Obviously, this being a first-party Nintendo game, they're going to bring in all the Joy-Cons and all the abilities and HD rumble and motion control and all that as well. So naturally, they're probably going to incorporate in some way something similar to Pokemon Go, where you can kind of throw a Pokeball using the Joy-Con. Personally, I do hope they include that functionality, even if I won't use it. But I do hope they put it into the Pro Controller, in which case I'll use it once or twice just to be able to see it. And, well, I mean, I play enough Pokemon Go as it is. But we're looking for new ideas. We're looking for all this stuff as much as possible to improve it. This is the first proper mainline series entry into Pokemon games on a home console, so it's pretty damn monumental. Which brings me to my last point. Now, this one is a pretty big point. It's pretty expansive. So we all know that throughout the years, from all the way back to like the GameCube, the Wii, the Wii U, and especially the Switch, that Nintendo has trouble with online. They're pretty damn awful at it. Now, ever since the DS, the Pokemon games have actually had online functionality. I mean, if you look all the way back to the Nintendo DS, you could actually voice chat in Pokemon easier and more logically than you can voice chat on the Nintendo Switch. But of course, there were limitations, both from hardware side and infrastructure side. Back then, you could battle online or you could trade online. Then they eventually moved into things like the GTS trading system and Wonder Trade. And personally, I thought there was a cool little touch. I believe it was in Pokemon X and Y. There was the whole nearby player thing. Whereas if you were connected to the internet, you could see other trainers that were in the same area as you in game using a menu system. Not perfect, but hey, it's not an MMO. I wasn't expecting that. It was a cool little extra bit of functionality. Players had trainer cards, a little bit of profile info. I was always curious to see what country they were from, because hey, everyone loves Pokemon no matter where you are. You could live on the moon if you want and you could still play Pokemon. So hopefully Nintendo gets their online system into a good state before the release of Pokemon. I'm expecting very bad things from the Nintendo Switch Online service. History tends to repeat itself, but I want to see more expanded features in Pokemon Switch in relation to online. I don't want to see just something like I open the internet list or the connection list, whatever they're going to call it. I don't just want to see trade, battle, friend, and maybe like GTS or Wonder Trade. Give us a co-op mode, be it a 2-player co-op mode, a 3-player co-op mode, or maybe even a 4, 5, or 6-player co-op mode. 3-on-3 battles have been a thing for a while in Pokemon games now, let alone 2-on-2, which has been even older. So maybe a friend of mine can jump into my world, we can go exploring around, catching Pokemon together, having all sorts of double trainer battles, grinding out in caves for hours and hours on end until we can finally get that random spawn of a 2% chance Pokemon. And then we get that euphoria together of both of us finally catching that Pokemon. So I absolutely definitely want to see some sort of functionality that will allow other players into your game in some way, shape or form. Not just for a quick trainer battle, but an actual full-on integrated person in someone else's game. That of course leads me to two other conundrums. One, there's the whole voice chat situation. Now I have no doubt whatsoever that of course Nintendo will incorporate Pokemon into their voice chat system app, much like they did Splatoon 2. There's something more than voice chat that you can do with that, so I'm obviously Pokemon is going to do that too. But it's still a terrible system in general. I don't think Nintendo will improve on that. For example, I don't think they're going to put in native voice chat into the game itself, but we're going to find ways around it as players. And the biggest conundrum of this whole situation is, will Nintendo improve so many features, functions, gameplay modes, gameplay mechanics, gameplay elements, online stuff? Will they do enough of that to force me to pay for that online subscription service that I really don't want to pay for? In fact, it basically all hinges on Pokemon. Because when you look at everything else on the Switch, both existing and coming soon, that's the only thing I care about when it comes to online play on the Switch. Now before we end out the video here, obviously I left out one or two specific things, like for example VR. Don't get me wrong, I would love a fully fledged Pokemon VR game, but the Switch is not going to deliver that experience. It just literally does not have the horsepower. So let me know in the comments section below all of your predictions, all of your wants, all of your wildest dreams, in what you want to see in the new mainline entry for the first time ever on a home console, Pokemon on Switch. Even if I've already covered it in this video, let me know it in the comments section, as well as stuff that I missed. I eagerly await more information, hopefully this year at E3, and hopefully a potential 2018 release date, because I think it will be the second biggest game of the year next to Red Dead Redemption 2. But hey, at this point, we have to wait and see. So let me know all that good stuff in the comment section below. Hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video. Maybe even hit the subscribe button and turn on that little bell for notifications on new videos and live streams. And I will see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.